Most Pokemon Draft League battlers are skilled purveyors of the fine art of the counter-team format. Creativity in battle prep is especially rewarded, and players remember their most heat-winning sets with fondness and enthusiasm. At the same time, people generally dwell on their failures and try to hide them from any sort of public notice. Not me. In my short time as a league coach, I've made some of the dumbest in-game decisions in the history of the format. Typically when I lose a game, it's not because I didn't prepare my team well or I had an impossible team matchup, but more because I make a careless decision that ends up ruining my intended strategy. And I'm here today to chronicle the most stupefying instances of this that I am solely responsible for. These baffling maneuvers will be ranked based on how obvious the safer alternative play should be to any conventional battler, as well as how influential said play was in affecting the outcome of my match. I've got 5 battles to go through, so let's not waste any time and move to my 5th worst draft league moment. By the way, I do apologize if this video gets shaky at any point, but this is my second ever league match. And it's one of the biggest examples of me not having much experience in the format and not realizing which mons I might need to keep around. However, as it turns out, this match is going to be against one of the best players in league format today, and definitely the best one that goes shirtless on facecam, Matty Brolick. So already, I'm going to be on the back foot for this match, and my play doesn't help matters at all. Now, Matty's team is super threatening. He's got a lot of strong attackers like Superior, Crawdon, Nidoking, and a bunch of defensive checks like Togekiss and Reuniclus that could boost up. So this was probably the team that season that I least wanted to face. It also happens to feature a mon that I overlooked heavily in my team building because he had so many threats. When I was preparing my team for Matt, I did not know that Doublade was as physically bulky as it was. So when it comes out, I switch into a Powdon thinking, oh, well, a Powdon can definitely handle Doublade. I mean, it's a ground type, it deals super effective stab damage, it's really physically bulky. Well, then Matty sets up a Swords Dance with Doublade, and then he goes for Iron Head, as I try to roar him out, and then he flinches me with the Iron Head. And at this point I just go into full-on panic mode. Because if Matt gets off one more Iron Head with his Doublade, my Powdon goes down to about 10 HP. And Powdon also happens to be my source of my sand for Excadrill to move really, really fast and outspeed most of his potential Scarf threats. So, I'm really worrying. I'm trying to look around my team and I can't find any switch-ins. And so I make quite possibly the worst possible switch-in of all by going into one of the few mons that could potentially OHKO this Doublade, my Electros. Why did I decide to do this? Because Electros resists Steel, and that means it definitely serves as a check to Doublade. Yeah, gets 2-hit KO'd. Then I send an Excadrill, like a really smart battler, and watches it gets OHKO'd after I can't even kill with the Earthquake because, surprise surprise, Doublade has base 150 defense and I did not research this. And in order to kill it, I decided it's a good idea to break the sash of my Alakazam. Brilliant tactical maneuvers by myself in this match. Just brilliant. Amazing. It's almost like I didn't expect any of my remaining mons to die to an Ice Beam from Scarf Nidoking. There are a couple key reasons why I didn't put this moment any higher up on my list. First off, it's my second ever league game. When you haven't had that much experience in league format, you're probably going to make some mistakes. The second reason is because I did not have a good team matchup at all. I think even if I hadn't made this rather idiotic play, Matty still would have won this game. It maybe wouldn't have been a 5-0 as it turned out, but either way, I still think Matt had the advantage and would have prevailed in the end, but this was still a misguided switch-in and probably the worst possible option I could have chosen in this match. The initial Electros switch-in was the catalyst for this, because if I just swapped in something else, or potentially let Hippowdon die, Electros' Flamethrower would have done massive damage to Doublade, and Doublade wouldn't have been able to KO it with either Shadow Sneak or Iron Head or whatever move it was going for. And because of that, I think I made possibly the worst possible switch-in onto Doublade at all. For that reason, this play ends up as my number 5 worst draft league moment. Let's move on to my number 4 draft league misplay, and the battle this misplay is in is a perfect example of how I would take notes from other people's league matches as a template to construct my own team. Now, if you're at all familiar with your GBA history, you may remember back in Season 6 when Gym Leader Geo swept through A-Drive's team, including a Mega Sableye Chansey core, using a Swords Dance Mega Absol. Well, funnily enough, my opponent has a Mega Sableye and a Chansey, and I have a Mega Absol, so I'm like, oh, I can just do the same thing and win! This is gonna be an easy game. I mean, all I have to do at this point is find a safe moment where I can bring in my Mega Absol, get off the Mega Evolution, set up a Swords Dance, and then just cut through his team. Now, even if he brings in the Ditto on my Absol with +2 attack, I'm not really at all worried because it's very likely he's going to be Choice Scarf. 99% of the time, you're on Choice Scarf with Ditto. And he's going to click Play Rough on my Absol because it's the only move that can actually hit my Mega Absol back. So my plan was just to swap into Fortress. So setting up really early on wasn't much of a concern for me, but it probably should have been. I mean, basically, all I have to do at this point is don't be stupid. Just don't bring in at a stupid time when there's no possible way that he wouldn't go for Will-O-Wisp here. And hey, I've got a Fire type hat right now in Rotom Heat. He's definitely not going to go for Will-O-Wisp on this. I can just... Oh. Fortress. Oh, okay. Knockoff. That's fine. Well, I would have to assume that now definitely it's not the time to go into Absol. Wait. What? Wait. Huh? Now? So here was my mindset for those first 2 turns. Turn 1. Go into Rotom Heat. Wasn't even considering going to Mega Absol at this point. Just like, I'm going to click Volt Switch because he doesn't have an Electric immunity. He ends up staying and going for Knockoff. Turn 2. I see the Knockoff, and I'm like, well, why can't I just go into Mega Absol now? Because if I do that, then he goes for Knockoff again, and I get the Justified boost, and then once I Mega Evolve, I'll be a +3 attack. I completely forgot that Sableye got Will-O-Wisp, and I do not know how that slipped my mind. Regardless of that, I think it's pretty impressive that in 2 turns, I accidentally wasted my best win condition in this match. Oh my lord. Like, every Ghost type gets Will-O-Wisp, and Sableye, apart from, say, Rotom, is probably the most common user of Will-O-Wisp. How do you forget something like that? Even more baffling in hindsight, why in the world would he choose to go for Knockoff a second time in a row when he's already taken the item off my Fortress and thus doesn't get the power boost that Knockoff gets when you knock off an item? Another strange aspect to this misplay is that if I had just gone into Mega Absol on turn 1 instead of Fortress, it would have been a pretty good play, because Mega Sableye had Prankster prior to Mega Evolving, so if he'd gone for a status move, it would have hit the Rotom and not the Absol. And if he'd gone for Knockoff, or some other attacking move, then it would have hit Absol, and then I probably would have gotten the Justified boost, because it's very unlikely that the Sableye had any other attacking move besides Knockoff. So, I had the aggressiveness of the switch down, but I chose the exact wrong time to do it. In fact, probably the only wrong time to switch into Mega Absol. That's pretty impressive. But there is a happier ending to all this, because even though I completely blew this match, I managed to win my final 3 regular season games, qualify for the playoffs, and make it all the way to the championship game. What happened there? Well, why don't we take a look? So here's the situation in this championship game. His Kyurem absolutely wrecks my team. I don't have a Fairy type in this team, my best Steel type is Fortress, and it has terrible special defense. So I have very little to handle Kyurem. So what's my solution? Well, I'm just going to sack things, and then hope to try to revenge kill the Kyurem. And I decide to do this after he goes for Draco Meteor with a Kingdra. Not a Scarf Kingdra, a Dragon Dance Kingdra. Why is this so important? Well, let's fast forward toward the end of the match. The score is now 2-2. He has the aforementioned Kyurem and a Mega Lopunny, and I have a Tangrowth and a Rotom Heat, all of which are at decent amounts of health. Tangrowth is my designated Lopunny counter. Meanwhile, Rotom can take any 1 hit from either of these 2 mons, but it cannot take 2 hits. My ultimate end goal is to prevent Rotom Heat from taking a hit from Mega Lopunny, because if that happens, then both it and Tangrowth are put in range of Specs Kyurem's Ice Beam. Now, earlier in the game, I was put in a similar situation where my Mega Absol was in on his Mega Lopunny, and I swapped out into the Tangrowth, and he predicted that and doubled into Kyurem, and I had to sack my Mesprit. So I knew that there was a possibility that he was going to make this double switch. So at this point, it comes down to a 50-50 of whether or not I think he's going to double into Kyurem, or whether or not he's just going to stay in and attack with Lopunny. It would have been really nice to have a potential sack here, so I didn't have to go through that 50-50. But it's too bad I completely wasted my Kingdra by switching it onto a -2 Kyurem, thinking it would be able to live a Draco Meteor. Needless to say, I lose the 50-50, Rotom takes a hit from Lopunny, and then Kyurem just wins. The main reason this decision is on the list at all is that it cost me a league title. There are 2 reasons it's not higher on the list. First, my Kingdra set was ill-conceived. Honestly, it should have been Scarfed to properly revenge kill mons like the Kyurem, rather than having to find a time to set up a Dragon Dance to outspeed. Thus, I blame my game prep for the loss more than this play, and team building failures don't really count. But as for the other reason, if my opponent had predicted my Kingdra to be Scarfed, based on the way I brought it in, maybe he would have switched out and this moment wouldn't be so infamous for me. Whatever the case, it was a bad read at a hugely pivotal moment in the battle, and it belongs with these other lowlights I have presented thus far. But what makes the final 2 matches on this list so much worse than the previous 3 is that my chokes both happened in endgame when I had pretty much already secured the win. This match took place the same season as the previous 2 matches I've shown, except it occurred prior to me making a lot of free agent transactions in an attempt to turn the team around after a slow start. But looking back with hindsight, I'm actually pretty proud of the team I built for this match. First off, it was the only match I had where I didn't bring Manaphy, who ended up being the league MVP for the season. I played in like 10 games or so, this was the only one where Manaphy didn't show up, namely because of Volcanion or Starmie. But not only did I not bring my top draft pick, I didn't bring any of my top 5 draft picks to this match. Going down the line, in this match we have Noivern, who I picked in the 9th round, Rotom Heat, 8th round, Salk, 10th round, Diancie, 12th and final round, Mesprit, 7th, Jellicent, 6th. These are all really late picks. These are not the mods my team is designed to work with all the time. Yet, all these late picks almost brought me a win. Especially Expert Belt Mesprit getting 3 kills. That mon did way more work than I had expected it to. But we're not here to talk about how effective Mesprit is in League format. No, we're here to talk about how I choked this game away. So, the beginning of the end starts at about turn 14, when my Rotom Heat tricks her Ferrothorn, a Choice Scarf. This is going to come into play much later on in the battle, so keep it in mind. Now we're going to skip ahead a bit to turn 18, when Mega Diancie takes out the opposing Abomasnow. At this point, the score is now 4-2, and my opponent has left a Choice Scarf Ferrothorn, and a Salamence that I know nothing about, since she hasn't brought it out yet. My opponent's incoming switch-in is crucial in determining my upcoming course of action. If she goes into Ferrothorn here, I'm going to assume the Salamence isn't Scarfed. I'll click Protect, see what move Ferrothorn locks itself into, and react accordingly. If she switches into Salamence, I'm going to assume it is Choice Scarfed. I click Protect, see what move she goes for, and switch into a mon that can take the hit. What this strategy does not account for, though, is the possibility she goes into Ferrothorn, and then immediately doubles into Salamence. Either she misclicked here, or she deliberately tried to confuse me. Either way, this misdirection works, because the second time around, I forget I can just click Protect again with Mega Diancie, and she outspeeds and kills me with Iron Tail, meaning that I should know that this Salamence is Scarfed. But that's not the misplay we're here to talk about, even though it does cost me. After I lose Diancie, I swap into my Noivern because even it can tank a +1 Iron Tail and kill a Draco Meteor. She then switches into Ferrothorn, as I miss the Draco. But this is actually good for me because I can just click Flamethrower and it will 2-hit KO the Ferrothorn. Only, let's think about this for a bit. My strategy coming into this game was to set up a Tailwind with Noivern and sweep using Salk's diverse move pool and high attack stat. I even EV'd Salk to outspeed a Salamence at +1 speed while Tailwind is up. Her Ferrothorn is now choice locked into Leech Seed. She literally cannot go for any other move. Meanwhile, Scarf Salamence outspeeds everything on my team. If I click Tailwind here, I lose nothing, and both my Noivern and my Salk will have the opportunity to outspeed the Salamence and kill it with either Draco Meteor or Ice Punch, respectively. So, do I set up Tailwind and just win? Do I make the smart, safe play? Of course not. After all, this is a worst misplays in Pokemon Draft League list. Of course I'm going to just click Flamethrower and immediately realize that Salamence moves faster than my entire team and kills everything with Scarf Outrage. How did this happen? Because in between the time that Diancie fainted and Noivern was sent out, I forgot the Salamence had to be Scarfed. It just didn't occur to me until I saw that Salamence staring me in the face again, ready to sweep. I really have no interest in discussing this battle any further, so I think we should just move on at this point. But now, the number 1 entry, the Draft League moment that I am most ashamed and embarrassed to admit I in fact did. Let's get to it. The only backstory you need to know for this match is that my team and my opponent's team are both 4-0, so the winner will have the best record in the league, and will undoubtedly earn the complete praise and adulation of their league mates, family, friends, neighbors, coworkers, etc. As it turns out, I have a Life Orb Nasty Plot Lucario on my team. I bring it in turn 5 on Zoroark, and once my opponent reveals his check to be Jellicent, I figure I can attempt a Nasty Plot on it and try to punch holes in his team. So I go for the Nasty Plot as he burns me with Will-O-Wisp. And at this point, I'm thinking to myself, I honestly doubt that Lucario will be able to kill this fully to be Jellicent in one hit. I mean, it's a Jellicent. It's known to be specially bulky. Even though I have super effective Dark Pulse as my coverage move of choice, Jellicent definitely should be able to tank the first attack. Nope. Dead. Now he brings in Mega Gardevoir. Normally, a good check to Lucario, because it has 10 more base speed, and Vacuum Wave might tickle it, but it definitely won't damage it that much. This thing would normally have no problem revenge killing Lucario, except for one minor detail. He hasn't Mega Evolved yet, and thus he's slower. Dead. Now, let's analyze the situation. My Lucario has 2 turns left of burn damage and Life Orb recoil, so it can get off at most 2 more attacks. Now let's look at the rest of my opponent's team. He has a Hydreigon, which, thanks to the Life Orb recoil he took on turn 2, dies to Vacuum Wave. He has an Excadrill, which dies to Vacuum Wave. He has a Zoroark, which dies to Vacuum Wave, and I would definitely click Vacuum Wave on it because it's disguised as Excadrill. And he has a Powdon, which dies to a +2 Flash Cannon. So I can OHKO whatever he switches in at this point with Lucario. Unless he pulls an awkward series of double switches, he is losing 2 Mons these next 2 turns. So with that in mind, if I'm a supposedly intelligent battler and usually make my best possible play, why in the world would I switch out a Crocodile on this Hippowdon?
I mean, how stupid can you be?
This play is bad on so many levels. First off, I would have killed the Hippowdon if I went for Flash Cannon. All I needed to do to make sure that I didn't screw this up was to run a calc and see how much damage a +2 Life Orb Flash Cannon did to a Hippowdon. It's literally one of the most common pieces of advice to Draft League battlers. Run your calcs. And yet, for some reason, I didn't do that. As I found out a couple turns later, an unboosted Vacuum Wave from my Lucario to his Hippowdon does 30%. So if I had attacked him with +2 Flash Cannon, I would have done approximately 120%. Just based off of base power. Meaning I would have easily taken him out right there. Second, I switch into a Mon in Crocodile that has no way of killing Hippowdon. It cannot deal enough damage. Sure, it can get up rocks on it. Sure, it can knock off its item. But there's no way to do enough damage to it where Hippowdon can't just heal it back. Third, if my goal in switching out Lucario was to preserve it for later, then against what of his remaining Mons would I get the opportunity to set up a nasty plot? I don't think I would have been able to OHKO every single Mon on his team without that plot, and even if I did try to get it off, I would just take an additional turn of burn damage. This match, however, did teach me an important lesson about Pokemon battling. If you attempt to set up with a Frailmon, whether to wall break or clean up endgame, you better commit wholeheartedly to that setup decision. If you decide to chicken out halfway through for whatever reason, then it wasn't worth setting up in the first place. I know that lesson now. In fact, I've taken lessons from all these losing matches I've had. As a battler, or anything you choose to do with your life, it's important to review your mistakes and learn from the past, so that you can avoid repeating your failures, while simultaneously learning which of your qualities makes you a successful person. I'm certain that I won't forget how bad of Mon Kingler is without Auto Rain, but if I really want to use it again that badly, I can always draft Pelipper or Politoed before to allow it to reach its full potential. And I'll always make sure to stay in with a +2 Lucario, regardless of what Mon stands in front of it. If you've had any particularly embarrassing moments in a Pokemon battle, feel free to leave them in the comments below. But my name is No Pun Intended, and I'll see you all next time.